안녕하세요. 민페이시 Singapore 남재입니다. 네, 안녕하세요 여러분들. I am here in Istanbul in this nice little park. There's a lot of people today out here sitting on the grass, picnicking, having a good time, having a relaxed, beautiful time. And you know what? This is not even the weekend. This is a regular weekday afternoon, okay? See, the number of people just enjoying life, taking it slowly. And I know a lot of people like you may be envying this kind of lifestyle. Like, how can people live so stress-free? How can people be so carefree, so relaxed, right? Again, I think about it all the time. Why a lot of people, like especially on social medias like Facebook, I see a lot of people complaining about a lot of things, and they all look so stressed out. And then I look at my own Facebook, I don't complain about anything, and I never seems to be stressed out over anything. And a lot of people say, oh, it's because you have money, blah blah blah. No, I see a lot of my rich friends, I look at their Facebook, it's all like they all post about all that kind of things all the time. They're stressed out about what the government is doing. They're stressed out about how the pandemic is doing. They're stressed out about riots on the other side of the world in some isolated neighborhood. You know, see, that led me to realize that there's actually two worlds in this world. See, until you understand and realize deeply that there are actually these two worlds, you're always gonna live in the wrong world. These two worlds is one world is carefree and beautiful, like this beautiful reality that I'm living in right now. And the other world is painful, it's in a mess, and basically the world is heading into destruction. Okay? In fact, you could call these two worlds heaven and hell if you want to, right? So what are these two worlds? I call them the story world and the real world. Okay, the story world world and the real world. Okay, how many of you can do that? Can't do the I bet some of you can do. It's a genetic defect, by the way. If you can do it's a genetic defect. Oh, I'm not joking. It's real. Google it. Okay, now, what is the story world? The story world, see, the story world and the real world exist together all the time on this dimension itself. The story world is pretty much the only world most people understand and know. See, whenever I look at Facebook, like look at some people's Facebook, I'm so amazed that without leaving their home country, they seem to know everything that's happening in every corner of the world. They know all the bad things that's happening everywhere. See, but they've never actually been there. They've never actually been outside of their country. So, how did they know about the world? To them, the world is only a made-up story. A story given to you by the media, by the internet, and made up in your own mind. And then you live your life through that made-up story world. Most people live their entire life in that made-up story world. Okay? I mean, it sounds insane. You may say, how is this possible? It is possible, and it doesn't sound insane to everyday people because enough other people are collating your story. Like, for example, okay, let me see if I can set this camera down. Okay, it's getting kind of tiring just holding it up. Okay. Okay, so one example is like I gotta hold up the camera. One example is the Hong Kong riot. Okay, the Hong Kong riot, I think of 2019. Everybody was like, whoa! Everybody who had never been to Hong Kong, who were not presently in Hong Kong at that time, were saying like Hong Kong is in a mess, it's in upheaval, and then it's like the Chinese army is gonna march in on Hong Kong anytime, and everybody in the world, in their story world, there will be this place called Hong Kong that is on the brink of a military incursion, which is on fire on every street, and people are like, it's in upheaval. One John Nali Nanko Kate. But the thing is, The reality in Hong Kong is that it's only happening in a very specific area, which is not even like 5% of Hong Kong itself. The rest of Hong Kong is actually very peaceful, calm, beautiful. You know? So the problem is the story world is a bad story. Why is the story world a bad story? It's because bad story sells, and therefore the media reports on bad stories all the time, every time, because it's interesting. And therefore it builds up a picture in everybody's mind like how horrible the whole world is right now. Talk about the pandemic. Gee, you must be saying the pandemic is horrible. The pandemic, the COVID pandemic, like made the mess of the world. You can't deny that. Okay, I'm not denying it. But throughout the pandemic season, from 2019 to 2021 right now, okay, and 2021, this is September 2021 by the way, almost October, I have lived in 3 countries throughout the whole period. In Japan, in New York, and in Turkey. And I'm telling you, the reality of COVID to me is this, that it is an inconvenience. Everywhere I go, I need to wear a mask. Okay, I have it here. In case you guys saying I'm not wearing a mask, I have it here. I need to wear a mask, and sometimes there's a lockdown. But that's all. That doesn't make the world a mess. It doesn't make the world on the brink of extinction. To me, all 3 countries were beautiful. Beautiful. The Turkey here is beautiful. It's beautiful, wonderful life everywhere I've been to. But everywhere on the internet, from people who have never been anywhere, they are saying like how horrible the world is and everything. No, that is the story world. The real world that I lived through, even throughout this pandemic, has been beautiful, has been awesome. It's not a mess. It's not a mess. So what is the real world? The real world is when you take away all this story in your head, and then you start to look around you. Look at the tree, look at the grass, look at the people around you, look at the reality around you. The reality that you live in right now is the real world. Okay? This reality, just push away all your stories, breathe, feel the air, smell the clean trees. This is reality. This is the real world. And the real world is always a paradise. It's always problem-free, it's always stress-free, it's always beautiful, and it always smells good. Except in the New York subways, okay? The real world of New York subway is stinking and unbearable. Okay, but anyway. So, you might be saying, but my problems are real. How can being in the real, to me being in the real world means being in problem? No. The problem is the story world. Your problem exists in the story world. Okay, you might be saying, right now I have bills that are coming up. I'm about to be evicted from my home. How can you say that my real world is good? Okay, now I want you to just forget all that problem for now. Put it aside. Lock in the drawer for a moment and just look around you. That is the real world. Right now, you sitting there watching this, what problem do you have? You're sitting there, you're alive, you're breathing the air, you're watching this. Nobody's behind you right now. Nobody's carrying a knife behind you right now. Nobody's doing anything to you right now. What is the problem? Your reality now is beautiful, but your story may be a bad one. You need to be able to differentiate between the story world and the real world. Remember, the story world is where all the stress is. The real world is always a paradise. The story world is always hell on earth. The story world is hell. The real world is paradise. And the good thing is you can choose to live most of your life in either world. It is actually a habit. People habitually live in the story world, but I habitually live in the real world. I rarely ever considered the issues of the story world, and I don't even bother myself to ask about anything that is not in my area. I don't care what's happening on the other side of the world. I'm not there. I tell you, if I'm not there, I don't know the truth. I don't care to know. Okay, life is problematic enough for it. We don't have to bother ourselves with what's happening on the other side of the world. Please, you have enough problem already, right? And it's a habit. It's nothing more than a habit. You need to understand that the purpose of the story world is survival. You engage with the story world to make your living. And also, secondarily, for pleasure. You engage with the story world for pleasure. But beyond making a living and beyond giving you pleasure, you should not be engaging the story world for pressure, for stress. Okay, that's what a lot of people are doing. Does this actually trigger something in your mind? I hope it does, because the awareness that there is a story world and then there is a real world is a huge leap ahead for your understanding and for your enjoyment of life. Okay, if you are really stressed out, if you think that the world is coming to an end and you're stressed out about everything, start to ask yourself, is that the real world, or is that merely the story world told to you by every media and everybody else? I hope this helps. Annyeong.